I'm your host, Dave Thomas, and that guitar is Eric Nash, and this is Pansophical Podcast. Catch up on all our episodes by visiting pansophicalpodcast.com/episodes. We're also on Apple Podcasts and YouTube at Pansophical Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, share, because your engagement is the only thing that keeps us on the air. Nearing the end of psychotherapy, I realized real power was hiding in me. In therapy, I learned a more plausible, accurate picture of me and see experiences in truthful ways. Over time, I examined what had happened to me, and what was in my power to change was sometimes out of my control. My biggest obstacle was my inability to be happy. I pretended to be happy for 3 decades. My brain was overwhelmed by adrenaline and stopped serotonin completely. I biologically could not feel good. My psychologist and psychiatrist convinced me to take Prozac to help my brain start making serotonin. Results take months to come online. But one morning I woke up and no depression. And I kept it to myself because I couldn't believe it was real, and I couldn't believe that the drug was the difference. But the next morning, I felt even better. It was a novel experience. I asked my therapist if everyone felt like this, and when he said yes, I cried. Over time, I recompartmentalized my brain. I began to see all things from new points of view. It still wasn't easy, but the ability to feel good was amazing. And I swear to God, it still is. I feel like that now. Yeah, I began treating myself better. 5 long years of relearning how to perceive my reality. I gave myself agency by restructuring my perspective. Everything connected. It felt like cheating. My self-confidence allowed me change, to be fluid, and ultimately control stress. I started therapy because I was genuinely thinking about suicide. Because it was just all too much to take the way I came out. It was just a horrifying experience. My whole house of cards fell to the ground. The first months were weeks of multiple sessions until Prozac took effect. And then it was every week for 5 years. And finally, one day I came in for a session and I had nothing to talk about. A few months later, I got signed to ICM and I began doing voiceover work as a union actor. Now I had a pension for old age. My skin was iron. My focus, impenetrable. And my name became known and respected. Felt so good. I was the pilot of my life, and I started surrounding myself with interesting people. I began to encourage others and share because it was fun to help people. Be happy, be empowered, successful, and encouraged. I loved working with kids. They were the most fun to make happy. I found myself teaching my craft to writers, sharing my construction experience and my skills. I became a guy people talked to because of the way I saw and navigated the world. I was asked to do cool projects. I had fans, and I wasn't nervous about it. Collaboration of any kind became my new addiction. My only problem was, and still is, money. Money. Money and predatory men. Money always gets more expensive. It only works for the rich. And predator behavior exposes mental illness. When I was threatened, I knew instantly that I couldn't afford to stay. Expat was my only option. But where? Which country? Money works against people, not for or with people. And for the last 2,000 years, primarily wealthy men have been committed to empire building, in spite of the fact that they never work. Not even once. But they can last for almost a lifetime, hence their continued existence. Empires are built to manipulate humans, but it affects our entire biosphere. Money, or resource hoarding, is why we empire build, and war by dividing species into groups instead of collaborating to make a better world. This makes them the problem, not the answer. The rich don't think human or have experiences like the rest of our species. They excel at nothing. Everything is done for them. With no experience or knowledge, they guess, accuse, cheat, and force. I needed to find a people that don't put up with fascists, a people that understands respect, labor, and most importantly, a good life that comes with a 2-hour lunch break, a people that see how important art is and moves through time at the proper speed of life. Portugal is a country full of people that are living the long game with a big smile. And people here respect each other. Very family-oriented and gracious, like it's Midwest in the 1950s. America is a child compared to Portugal's existence. And it goes back thousands of years. Portugal was once the leader of the entire world. But they saw the folly of that and the folly of empire building hundreds of years ago. It has a rich people, but the poor have health care. And people are kind. Which reminds me to remind you, keep that positive groove going. There's more. Thanks for listening to Pansophical Podcast. Pump the brakes. For updates on my latest expat adventures, follow us on Instagram at Pansophical Podcast. All Pansophical Podcast episodes are available in 3 places. On our website, pansophicalpodcast.com/episodes, on Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube at Pansophical Podcast. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, or follow. And if you loved what you heard and you want to make a donation, go to pansophicalpodcast.com/donate right now. Every contribution helps us make better stories, better music, and a